Welcome back to the Extra Rep podcast, guys. I'm Josh.
I'm Liam.
So today, what we're going to talk about is the future of health coaching. So, you've probably seen AI take over and a lot of other things happening in the industry. So we just want to have a bit of discussion about this and where we probably think it's headed, what we need to, look forward to or what you want to dive into. And then also probably, some things that, not that you want to avoid, but you just want to be, mindful and conscious of as more automated stuff starts taking over, especially when it comes to coaching for your health, because at the end of the day, you're an individual. So it is one thing to be, using technology and being really, in depth in it and all that sort of thing. But we still need to, take it back to a human level. And that's where I think, coaching is going. I think it's getting to a point where everything's just going to be, like an automated app in a spreadsheet, and no one's going to get really any human support, if that makes sense. You might message, it might be a coach who's got, a million followers, right? And he's got a million people on his app, and that it's just going to be an AI automated reply if they've got questions, right? Yeah. So I think there is, again, there's definitely a space for, having automated things when people are asking, simple questions. They can get an automated AI reply. Yeah. I think that is really beneficial and useful. But I think that's where a lot of people, will lose the art of coaching in the future. It'll be like, say this, do that. And you'll be like, oh, but why? Or having some sort of empathy when something happens to someone. So
it's already happening, right? Yeah. There's AIs of certain coaches that and their product is like, oh, instead of the client, asking me 50 questions a week, I've got, say, AI Liam, and then they'll just ask AI Liam, and AI Liam will understand from consuming all my content and everything how I will actually respond to that person and their individual inquiries. And I was seeing it in terms of VAs in Facebook, people would follow influencers, and then they'd be like, wait, I'm talking to a bot in here and I'm just getting lead generated and stuff, but I'm asking for help. And it's like, yeah, because that person's paying someone in a different country. But now what they're doing is, okay, they don't need to pay someone, they can just use an AI bot. And it is unfortunate with coaching. I will say, as people get more and more desperate with their health issues as well, and there's so much answers out there, I'm finding a lot of people coming to me with just, they've chat GPT'd their issues. That's probably the most common one. If someone doesn't know something, their reaction straight away is to talk to ChatGPT. They're like, I entered my symptoms in here and this is what ChatGPT said. And I'm like, well, yeah, it got some things right. And we've debunked that in the blood work analysis of what ChatGPT has done stuff. But it's like, there's still that human interpretation with which understanding information and years of work that AI won't be able to get to just yet.
Yeah. And I think it's funny because when we go, like I said, it's going to be able to, in a positive, it's going to be able to allow us to go much deeper into human physiology and those sort of things. For example, the thing I use even with iScreen now, Liam did my blood work, but even their interpretation of it was all these extra markers, a lot of different stuff, and giving you rough ranges and telling you, why they're there and actually how they affect other things as well. So I was pretty impressed with that. And it's going to, give you suggestions. It'd be like, oh, you can maybe have more of this vitamin. You can change this. You can swap that in. So I think it is good in those instances. But again, it comes back to, being a human being. And if you've got, just a robot coaching you with nothing else, then I think it becomes, it just goes down a rabbit hole. Yeah.
It's a real thing. The actual coach, what brings them value is that they've been doing something for 11 years. They know what it's like to, do a really heavy squat. They know what it's like to be overweight. They know what it's like to be insecure. They have feelings. They know what it's like to be frustrated and, make all the mistakes and all that stuff. And it's like an AI on a bot doesn't know that, doesn't know any better. And robotics is going to be a real big thing. Tesla bots are already here. People are going to have their own personal assistants and bots and, personal trainers that will probably be coming for your job. But a robot will never understand and look at you and be like, okay, I think you had maybe one more rep in the tank. It won't understand what a muscle contraction feels like or training to failure or willpower. It won't understand that, to my knowledge. Unless something changes in 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, give it 5 years and Elon Musk Tesla bots will be coming through, taking your job. But I think, like I said, especially as a coach, you need to grow with it. You can't just ignore it and expect it to just go away because it's not. And this is why it's important to, have, the art of coaching and years of experience, watching people move, seeing how they move, because it's very difficult, to upload a video to AI and be like, oh, what am I doing wrong with my squat? because it could be 500 different things that they're not focusing on, or could be tight in certain areas. So I think it's one thing where still having a coach to look over your movement is still the best thing you can possibly do until something else, comes out that could improve that. But I can't see how it's going to fully replace someone, especially from, like I said, a coaching perspective of making sure, getting through plateaus, fixing up lifts, doing different things. From the programming side, it's started to get quite decent, I would say.
Yeah.
But again, it's more like still in that beginner to intermediate phase. Like when you're getting more intermediate advanced, like it's still not really great on, even like the muscle building principles and stuff, like it's lacking. So I think obviously that will improve, it'll improve tenfold as well, and you will start seeing better things. But yeah, I think for a majority of people as well, you get coaching obviously for the purpose of, having someone there to push you, to motivate you, and to obviously, fix what's not working.
Yeah.
And the problem with ChatGPT at the moment is, you can ask that question, but it'll give you an answer, but that doesn't always mean it's right at the moment. So it's hard to know.
But we've seen these shifts in the health industry before, and I'll give you a perfect example. The shift between personal trainers and online coaches. People thought they could just jump online without doing the hard yards in a gym and actually helping understanding people, because they wanted this dream lifestyle of the laptop by the pool. And AI is just probably going to be another version of that. I'll do my AI startup and I'll help coaches, and it will scale their business and give them Instagram followers and all this stuff. And it's honestly going to come down to a lot of numbers for people, because someone sees, okay, this person's got this amount of followers. The AI is actually doing a video representation of their face, and you don't even know that it's AI. And so that they think that they're actually getting information when it's really a robot with their voice talking to them.
Yeah, it's really crazy how, like I said, you will have coaches now, like I know some who are already starting to do it. Like they are literally programming like them in a video, and they are saying the stuff and doing all the stuff, but it's not actually them. So of course they're still saying what needs to be said, but it's just making it really easy for them to film modules and content. They give it the script, and basically it talks it out with their voice, like we are right now. If you're watching us on YouTube, and I can't even tell the difference when I've seen it, which is starting to get pretty crazy. I know Facebook and Instagram, they say the thing, you have to click like if it's AI generated now, but people don't do that. Like, there will be, I'm sure they will eventually have like a filtering system where they'll know based on the technology. But at the moment, it's in a real dark, murky area. And I think this is when a lot of people, unfortunately, will start to use that to their advantage and prey on people and, like I said, take their money for coaching.
It's already happening.
Exactly.
Look at OnlyFans.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Not even real women anymore.
Yeah, that's
but like
that's bizarre.
It's a side tangent, but it clearly shows that it works, right?
Yeah.
So,
bizarre.
And as you mentioned with people preying on someone, the coaching relationship with someone actually falls under pain. Someone's got a pain point, they're insecure about their weight, they've been misled with certain information, they can't get results, whatever it may be. Someone has the answer, and they can leverage that pain. It's honestly a sad thing, because yes, some people will prey on it. Some people, coaches like you and I, actually give a shit about the individual and want to help them. And we are honestly, I was having this chat with another coach the other day, we're losing our ability to critically think. And actually critically think for ourselves. Like a lot of people hold beliefs on certain things just because they entered it into ChatGPT. And they could debate people in the comment section of certain YouTube videos or whatever it may be. And they'll be like, oh, I've had mates literally reach out. They had an argument on something, and they said, I just ChatGPT a response. I'm like, what? Like, and this is how the health coaching space is honestly going to end up being like, because unfortunately, the health coaching space is very narcissistic. Everyone thinks that their opinion is right. Everyone wants their own version of authority. And everyone just seems to be holding on to these beliefs that a lot of people don't even know that it's not their beliefs. It's either the beliefs they heard online from an AI bot or from ChatGPT. So unfortunately, with those beliefs, they hold on to it and they don't learn to critically think for themselves or unpack things. And this is where coaching is really special, because if you've coached over hundreds of clients like we have a rough idea and understand of how people work and certain problems.
Yeah, and that's I guess that's the big problem that is in the industry at the moment, is that a lot of people, like I said, they're ChatGPTing responses, or they're arguing over, what exercise hits the fifth metatarsal of your lower lat, and it's like, for a lot of people, you got these 18-year-old guys who are seeing all this information on TikTok and thinking, okay, that's the best way to grow my lat, which could be a really good exercise. But if they just got stronger on pull-ups for a year, they see way more muscle growth than trying to set up this exercise and make sure everything's absolutely perfect. So I think, again, there's a lot of nuance there to be thinking, what's the perfect exercise for this? What's the perfect, muscle group to train, and how frequently should I train it? There's going to be some parameters, but with the parameters, we need to find out, okay, what works for you? How much load can you do before you need to recover? Are you stressed at work? Someone who's 20 years old playing video games at home is going to be much less stressed than a 35-year-old dad who has 4 kids, a mortgage, a wife that yells at him, and no money in the bank. So it is something that you just need to think about critically. And when you say, the 19-year-old think like, oh, you just need to do this to build muscle. You'd always just have a laugh and go, well, just wait till you turn 30, man, and you get a real job and responsibilities. Things do differ. Not that you can't make progress, of course, but things do change from that perspective.
I'd like to flip the script a little bit, because I understand from the standpoint, it sounds a little bit like fear-mongering, all the stuff we're talking about, but it's just something to be aware of, guys. There are going to be so many positives in the future. We now know that stuff we were doing 5 years ago was wrong. 10 years ago, it was extremely wrong. And what are we doing today that in 5 years' time we'll be like, probably didn't really need to be doing that. I mean, ice baths is the biggest recent one. It's like 2-3 years ago, it was the massive rave. Now everyone's like, okay, maybe sauna's better instead. It's like, we go through these phases in the health industry. We go from the, personal trainers to the online coaches to the AI bot coaches. And who knows what it's going to be after that. But it's really good to understand this, because one thing I saw, and it really shocked me, and honestly, like, it makes so much sense as well, because if I was in that same position, I'd do it, is people are getting through their university degrees, health coaching degrees, doctor degrees, whatever, all from using ChatGPT and AI.
Yeah.
They're not learning that information themselves. They're just doing all the boring nuanced work that they have to do to get their certification. And I'm like, look, if I was a kid, if I was a teenager doing homework and I had ChatGPT, I would have been the perfect student. We missed the golden age, unfortunately.
For sure.
But we learnt the ability to critically think for ourselves. And, I speak on this wholeheartedly because, like, I see this in blood work analysis and, certain things and stuff. And unfortunately, everyone just gets attacked for it, right? You have an opinion about something, and it could be backed up by results from 100 different blood work analyses you've read, a bunch of PubMed studies, a bunch of clients you've helped, but one person just goes online and just...
The researchers said this.
Yeah, exactly. Or this new paper came out and said this, and this. It's just like, okay, well, you learn your lesson. Yeah,
and I think, again, it's like that swinging pendulum, like, especially with research and things like that, it's like... a lot of the stuff that people are doing now, potentially with clients and getting results in that, the research might be 10 years behind. So I'm not saying that research isn't important. It's very important. And now we're seeing some stuff come out to be, again, saying 5-10 years ago, I probably didn't need to do 10 sets of 10 of German volume training on my squats, right?
Exactly.
We're getting better at understanding what fatigue is, how to manage it, and, what stimulating sets are. But then again, you have the flip the other end of the coin. Someone will be like, I'm not going to do 2 sets because it's too fatiguing, So it's getting a bit crazy. So that's when you just need to find, like I said, that happy medium. Take the information, apply it to yourself, or get someone, a coach, to be able to apply it to you, whilst being able to use those things where, in my dream world with clients, it would be, I'd have like a little AI Josh to be, if there are simple questions they need to ask, I can get back to them instantaneously. It's like, should I measure this cooked or raw? Just simple nutrition or training questions. And then if someone has a specific question or, a form feedback video, that's when I'm like, okay, that's when, you're really going to shine and get that, which is going to allow you to obviously, give them the response as quick as possible, which is perfect. But then still, obviously, when you're talking about stuff that you really need to zone in and actually tell them critically what's going on, whether it be their squat form or what they're doing with their day-to-day routine and things they need to swap. I think that's really, it's got to get the best of both worlds. I think at the end of the day, otherwise, like I said, you're just going to get left behind with like response times,
I do want to touch on convenience in terms of the future. It was, where we see sort of the health space going, because, 10 years ago, for us to have protein ice creams and all this stuff like that was non-existent. Like, it just wasn't. Maybe you had protein powder and that was it. Now we have all sorts of protein desserts and all this stuff and delicious treats, and so easy to stay on diet. But think about all the things from a convenience standpoint. We now have, okay, greens powders. It's like, imagine if you could just give someone a pill that's just going to give them literally everything that they need. Would you take that pill? And a lot of people are like, no, I wouldn't. But then a lot of people take Ozempic.
I'd take it.
So yeah, a lot of people take Ozempic because they don't want to eat less. So it's like, oh, okay, there's all these trade-offs. Like, there's going to be so many medical breakthroughs in the future in terms of our health. And honestly, I see it as a very exciting thing. For example, I can't wait till I'm 40 in 10 years' time and, whatever natural version of steroids with minimal side effects is there, fuck yeah, I'm going for it. But, it's good to look forward to these things, but also to be very cautious of the negatives that can happen. And that's just what we wanted to touch light on in this podcast. It's like, there's going to be very exciting things, but there's some things that are going to shock you, and they're actually already here in the industry, and they're only going to get worse.
Yeah. And I think it comes back to, because of the rise of social media and things like that, it's very easy for someone to sound convincing, right? And dupe you. Yeah. So I would strongly recommend, if you're going to follow someone who you potentially be like, oh, do I want them maybe to be my coach, or do I want to buy whatever they're selling, right? Look at their stories, actually get them to understand things for a few months. Don't just jump in and be like, oh, this guy's transformed this many people. Awesome. And that goes for us too. I would much rather someone follow me for a couple of months and go, okay, I understand who this guy is, what he does with his clients, how he trains people, and just my, philosophy and my personality behind training, because I feel like you're not just buying a program, you're buying someone's personality. So I think you want to make sure you get along with them as well. And, you will have your type of people, exactly, that you want to train. You will get gravitated towards your type of people. And I feel like, as a coach, you will just do that. You will go through hundreds of people before you start understanding, oh, these are generally the type of clients that I would like to market towards a bit more because, I enjoy training them.
Yeah.
And again, as a coach, sometimes the best clients are actually the ones that, challenge you the most, that you potentially 100%. Disagree with the most, or you're like, this person's being annoying, but you always have to reflect back and go, okay, I'm sitting here and I'm not agreeing with this, but why am I? And then you start critically thinking, and then you start coming up with new alternatives and solutions, and that just generally makes you a better coach. But that also goes on the shoe of the foot of the client, right?
Yep.
If the coach is giving them stuff and trying to find all these solutions, but you're just not doing the work, then you're just going to continue to go probably from coach to coach. Or I'm sure we all know someone who's had multiple coaches and they're like, oh, it's just not working. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. When at the end of the day, they're just not putting the effort in that they need to consistently.
I mean, I'll put my hand up. I've had shit coaches before.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've been a shit client as well.
100%.
It always goes both ways. Unfortunately, in the space, whether it be, certain mentors or they, let's say sales agencies or business mentors, that's a big one with service-based business, coaches like us. There are really shit ones out there, but it's just like any field, right? There are shit doctors, there are shit physios, there are shit, chefs,
accountants.
Yeah, there are shit accountants that cost you a lot of money. There's always bad people in the industry, and, you need to understand, okay, what's this person's agenda? Do they seem like a good person? Do they actually seem like they know what they're doing? Do they actually have proven results? Is probably the big one. And do they actually take their time, give a shit, answer your questions, actually help you before going, hey, I need your credit card details? That's the biggest one I see. When you message someone and straight away into a sales funnel, it's just like, what the hell? I had a girl, Ali, reach out to me. She had followed me on TikTok for ages and I had no idea, but she just followed my Instagram and shot me a message. And she's like, hey, do you work with women? And we've just been talking back and forth, and she got her blood work done and all that stuff. And it's like, there was no funnel there. It was just like, okay, this is cool. She understands my information from the amount of times and repetition of everything I put out. And she goes, okay, I trust this guy to actually look at my blood work and get some results.
Yeah. And that's at the end of
one example.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, that's all it is. It's like finding someone you relate to, realizing that, this information's good. And like I said, it's very easy to be duped. So it is something, like I said, do your due diligence and make sure that, they're not getting to a point where, I think the problem with coaching is, I think a lot of coaches will start with, smaller book of clients.
Yep.
As that book becomes bigger, of course, then they go, okay, I need to start automating some tasks. And I feel like a lot of people, again, will go too far the way of, not personalizing things, and it becomes all AI'd. Don't get me wrong, I use AI for coaching, and if I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I want to ask this question a certain way for a client, right? To make sure they're understanding it, and I'm trying to go through different phases of learning that clients potentially, would gravitate towards. So I think it's important to do that, but it's still got to come from your own voice.
Yeah.
I know what I want to say, but I just want it structured sometimes in a way that they're going to understand a bit better than what I can currently say, if that makes sense.
No, spot on. Nailed it. Like I use AI in my business purely for all the boring shit I don't want to do, like writing up contracts and all that and sorting out files. That's all I use it for. I don't use it for content or filming or editing or none of that stuff. But look, it's there as a tool to be used and it's here to stay. It ain't going anywhere.
Yeah. I think it's here to integrate, but you don't want to let it overconsume, everything you do. You don't want to let it take over.
Exactly. Like I know a business that's failing at the moment because they've gone too far into the Alex Hormozy approach of they read this book and now everything has to be leveraged and now everything's AI, and it's just like they're asking for more and more money, and then it's just like they've completely killed their client base. It's crazy just because they lose that, like, okay, how can we get more money in the bank, more time and hours in the day, more leverage, and then it's like you've completely lost the whole purpose of the business, and it's like it was about the client and helping them.
People. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great message to leave it at, guys. It's at the end of the day, it's about helping yourself or getting a coach to help you. If they're not in the business of trying to help someone, whether that's leveraging AI or even going over the top of it, it is one of those things where you really have to just be careful. And like I said, this industry is going to evolve. It's going to keep evolving, and if you're not on board with it, especially with AI sense, you're going to get left behind. So I think it is time to start adopting some AI-based stuff, but also, like I said, getting some feedback from a coach. So, like I said, even if you guys, we're not fussed if you don't get coached by us, but if you have questions and you're like, AI's recommended me this, or this program, this is my situation. What do you think? I'm more than happy, and I'm sure you are as well. If you want to shoot us a DM on Instagram at Action Fitness Nutrition or at Coach Liam C. Murphy, we can happily have a chat for you. We're not here to take your money unless it's something where you're like, oh, I actually really need help with this. And we go, okay, this is going to be a 12-week process to actually fix this or change this for you. If you just need answers to questions, we're happy to just reply. It's no stress, because that's why we're here at the end of the day, to help people.
Yeah, I've got many people, some aren't even clients, but they're just followers and they've reached out and I've just shot them voice messages back explaining things. Like one guy had a tooth removed and he's like, what do you recommend? Doctor said have this. I'm like, get a tablespoon of colloidal silver and swish it around to make sure there's no bacteria and spit it out. He's like, thanks, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, sweet. I had another client, Alex, he was a previous client, but we still keep in contact, and he's like, hey man, what's your, thoughts on fed versus fasted cardio? This is my schedule, all this. And, we just went a bit back and forth in there.
Yeah.
Little things like that.
Yeah. Just talking like normal humans,
Exactly.
And if there's someone you're asking them a question and they're not giving you any answer, but they're just trying to funnel you into a sales call every single time, I think that's where the issue lies. Of course, if there's something where they're funneling you in because they're like, I can help, but this is going to take longer than me answering a question. Of course, it's a different story. But if you're just trying to ask a really simple question, do I need more of this in my diet? This is my diet. And they go, oh, let's jump on a call and have a look. It's okay, go back and forth with them. Obviously, make sure you're just getting information and people are trying to help at the end of the day, and not just trying to take the dollar. But
there are such things as lead generation scripts and sales scripts. And if you're in someone's Instagram's DMs, you need to understand the difference.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I think that's a great place to leave it. Again, really good discussion there about AI, evolution of coaching. But again, guys, if you have any questions for us, our inboxes are always open. You'll find the links and the tags below. And we also discussed them just before at Action Fitness Nutrition at Liam C. Murphy. But until next time, guys, we'll see you in the next podcast.
See you guys.